Family reunion ruined, the shocking truth behind his brother's lavish engagement without me. The air crackled like static electricity, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. The annual family reunion had always been a cherished event, a time for laughter, memories, and a little too much nostalgia. But this year? This year was different. I rounded the corner, and there it was, the sprawling estate that held secrets darker than any family feud. Its manicured lawns glimmered in the midday sun, but a sense of dread loomed over, twisting my gut into knots. How could he? How could my brother, the favorite son, the shining star of the family, go and get engaged without inviting me? First strange element, my heart raced as I caught sight of the crimson roses that adorned the entrance. They were drenched in a bizarre, dark hue. A little too red, a little too alive. They didn't just bloom, they seemed to pulse, like they had a heartbeat of their own. Chills crawled up my arms as the scent hit me, sweet yet suffocating, like honeyed poison. What did that mean? The family chatter around me faded into a vague hum, whispers mingling with laughter, but there was something unnatural in their mirth. As I stepped closer, the voices grew animated. Did you hear what she did? It's scandalous, really. It was gossip, yes, but the tension was unbearable. A thick silence suddenly blanketed the crowd. Their faces turned towards me, eyes wide, mouths agape. You could have heard a pin drop. What had I missed? The host of the reunion, my mother, stood by the door, her smile too wide, almost forced. She glanced between me and the guests, and I could swear a fleeting shadow passed over her face, a hint of worry that set my nerves on edge. I struggled to shake off that feeling, but the knot in my chest tightened further. There were secrets wrapped in this family, like a burrito, tasty on the outside but filled with bitterness. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let us connect. With the sudden noisy proclamation fading, I stood on a precipice, suspended between confusion and dread. A loud pop from fireworks broke the silence, startling everyone back into laughter, but I remained uneasy. I needed answers. I had to know why the world had turned its back on me at this moment. Then, like a spear to the heart, my brother appeared under the marquee, his arm wrapped around a radiant woman, who looked as though she owned the sun. She laughed, and it echoed like a death knell in my mind. Why hadn't I been invited to this pivotal moment? My anger bubbled to the surface, mixed with an undercurrent of fear of being left out yet again, fear of what my family had hidden from me. It was the moment when the sky darkened, and I felt that something truly sinister was lurking just beneath the polished surface of this family gathering. What did they know that I didn't? As the fireworks exploded overhead, casting eerie shadows, I braced myself for the truth that was about to unfurl. As I stood there, frozen in the moment, clarity sharpened. Was this mere oversight, or something more calculated? My heart hammered in my chest, like a war drum preparing for battle. The laughter of those who had either noticed my entrance or feigned ignorance cut through me, sharp as glass. I spotted Aunt Mira at the edge of the crowd, her eyes narrowing as her lips tilted into a sly smirk. I tried to catch her gaze, a silent plea for understanding, but she quickly turned away, talking animatedly to someone else. That was her. Always with the secrets, the whispers that seemed to sink like stones into the depths of the ocean. Fury began to spiral through me. How dare my brother, in his moment of glory, treat me like I didn't exist? Didn't they know I had a right to be here? I felt the tension around me rising, the air thickening with every minute that passed. And then, it happened. My brother raised his glass, a toast to her, to their future, to everything I was meant to be included in. To love and family. He exclaimed, his voice booming out over the crowd. My chest tightened, anger and betrayal battling for control. The crowd echoed his words, their approval thunderous, while I stood like an outsider, a ghost haunting the sidelines. The laughter rang out again, high-pitched and chilling, and I couldn't help but feel that it was directed at me, a cruel reminder of how uninvited I'd become. The dark shades of the evening began to creep in, the sun fading behind a barricade of clouds, much like my standing in this family that I took a step back, my instincts flaring. No. I couldn't let this stand. With each second, I felt a deep-seated resolve welling up inside me. I had to find someone who could answer my untamed questions. I cut through the throng of partygoers, bypassing the revelry, searching for someone who might divulge what I had missed. Then, in the far corner, I found Claire, my brother's best friend since childhood. She often stood as a bridge between him and the rest of us, the one person who might hold a shred of honesty. Her fingers played anxiously with the fringe on her scarf, her eyes darting nervously over her shoulders as if she sensed danger. "Claire!" I called, my voice strained but urgent. She turned, and her features morphed from confusion to worry. "Hey, can we talk?" I reached for her arm, my grip firm but gentle. She glanced toward my brother, a look of panic crossing her face as if a predator had entered her field of vision. "What's wrong, Mira?" You shouldn't be here," she stammered, glancing back again. That fleeting look made my heart race faster, concern threading deep through my gut. "Why not? I deserve to be here. Why wasn't I invited?" My voice lowered to a whisper. But Claire turned her head, avoiding my words like they were knives. "I can't, it's not safe." Fear prickled my skin. What did that mean? Before I could press for more, a loud shriek echoed through the gathering, sharp and piercing, silencing the crowd in an instant. All heads turned toward the source, every face a mask of shock. A woman had stumbled backward, eyes wide, throat raw, her gaze locked onto the crimson roses. "Something's wrong with the flowers," she gasped, as if the mere sight of them broke something within her. A heavy silence descended, a thick blanket of dread engulfing any flicker of joy. I felt my own heart quicken, awareness dawning like the first cold light of dawn. Whatever secrets lay hidden in my family, they were ready to surface, clawing desperately for release. "Claire, I need to know what's going on," but before I could get an answer, a chilling scream erupted again. What had I stepped into? With my pulse thrumming in my ears, I braced myself for chaos. Something in this family reunion was unraveling, and whatever it was lethal. What were they hiding behind those rose petals? And as I stood there, uncertainty shadowing my every thought, I realized I was standing at the entrance of a trap I never saw coming. As the crowd surged toward the source of turmoil, I couldn't shake the thought whatever was about to be revealed would shatter the delicate balance of all our lives. But what remained hidden? And why did it feel like we were all accomplices in a game much darker than I had ever imagined? The chaos erupted like a bomb going off in a quiet room, sending shockwaves through the crowd. Gasps flowed like a current, and I felt myself being drawn forward against my own will. The crimson roses, now the center of a macabre circus, lay strewn across the ground, petals scattered like the remnants of a battle. "What happened?" I whispered, but Claire didn't answer. Her eyes were glued on the scene, dread pooling in her gaze. I could almost hear the hidden whispers, the frantic questions circling us as we hovered at the edge of this revelation. A man pushed through the throng, his white shirt stained with deep maroon, his face grim like he had seen a ghost. When he reached the woman who had screamed, he crouched down, urgency taking over. "What's going on, Sarah? Talk to me." Sarah, her eyes wild with fear, pointed to the roses. "They aren't just flowers. They were delivered this morning. Those were supposed to be for their engagement." A sickening twist sank in my gut. The roses. I remembered the delivery truck that had pulled up earlier, yet another piece of the evening I had ignored. I felt the pieces beginning to click together, an intricate puzzle of deception and dread. "Are they poisoned?" Someone muttered from the crowd, followed by a collective intake of breath. I stood frozen, grappling with the reality of how quickly this beautiful evening had spiraled into something dark and awful. Poisoned roses. It felt like a plot straight out of a thriller, but this was real. Claire. I turned sharply back to her, desperation pressing against my chest. You have to know something. Why wasn't I invited? Why do I feel like I've walked into a nightmare? Her eyes darted again, horror creeping in. I didn't want you to be part of this. You wouldn't understand. Wouldn't understand what? That something horrible was happening to my family? My voice came out louder than I intended, attracting sidelong glances. What's really going on here, Claire? Before she could respond, another scream split through the air, sharper than the last. A figure clutched her throat, her face a mask of devastation. I leaned closer, trying to decipher the chaos that surrounded us. Is it serious? Did someone really poison the flowers? Someone decided to send a message, Claire finally uttered, her voice barely above a whisper. You were meant to be here. But they didn't want you involved in this mess. Panic swelled in my chest. Who? Who is behind this? Claire stepped back, pale and trembling. Her mouth opened as if to speak, but nothing came out. She glanced toward my brother, now kneeling beside Sarah, his face contorted with worry, unaware of the deeper currents swirling beneath his celebration. Suddenly, I felt a sharp prickling at the nape of my neck. Everyone was looking at us, murmurs rising sinisterly. Did they know? Did they suspect what Claire and I were talking about? My heart raced, the feeling of being trapped growing sharper with each tick of the second hand. What if they come for you next? Claire's voice was low, tinged with fear. My gaze tore back to her, dread pooling inside me. This wasn't just about engagement roses or painful secrets. It was spiraling into something far more dangerous, and I had stumbled right into its path that I spun toward the crowd again, scanning for any familiar faces, searching for Aunt Mira's infamous smirk, maybe even a hint of something I could cling to, a warning or a sign. But the darkness had taken root, twisting everything into dread. Stay close, I urged Claire, feeling the need to protect what little of my family I had left. But who was I protecting? What was I even fighting against? The air thrummed with uncertainty, and whether I was ready or not, the truth was closing in fast. And just as the sky began to rumble above, signaling an approaching storm, I realized this was just the beginning. Were we on the brink of a revelation, or a disaster far worse than I could imagine? Would I uncover the truth before they faced each other, or would they bury me under secrets richer than blood? The chaos around us felt palpable, choking the air and thickening the tension. Panic turned to paralysis as I noticed the tide of frightened faces, friends, relatives, all entangled in this nightmare of crimson petals and whispered fears. Each heartbeat echoed like a warning drum, and I fought the urge to flee, to hide away from what was unraveling. Claire, Simon. We need to, I started, but she cut me off, her eyes suddenly widening with something more than fear. Look! She gasped, pointing sharply over my shoulder. That I turned abruptly, expecting another scream, another revelation of horror. Instead, my gaze locked onto Aunt Mira, standing just outside the circle where the crowd had formed, her expression unreadable. Was it shock? Delight? I couldn't tell. But there was an unmistakable glimmer in her eye, as if she were a puppet master observing her marionettes fall apart. Why is she here? I muttered, clenching my fists. How could she show her face after this? Maybe she knows more than we do, Claire breathed, her voice tremulous. A quick glance showed my brother still huddled by Sarah, oblivious to the back alley of family betrayals we were beginning to confront. Then, like a clap of thunder, Aunt Mira stepped forward. Everyone! She called out, her voice cutting through the murmur of voices like a knife. We need to calm down. Please. This is a private matter. Private. The word ricocheted in my mind like a bombshell. Who was she protecting? The family? Or herself? Private? The word slipped out before I could stop it. I could feel the eyes of the crowd shifting from her to me, curiosity piqued. Do you think this is a personal affair? People are injured. Someone's out for blood. Mira's lips pursed, and for a moment, I thought she might shoot back with a sharp retort. Instead, she turned and flashed a half-smile, icy and calculating. The roses, my dear. They carry messages. Not all of them are meant to be decoded by bleeding hearts. A collective gasp rippled through those closest to us. What was she suggesting? That these roses meant more than deceit. The subtle undertone of her words made my stomach churn. That instant, clarity washed over me. If I wanted answers, I had to go to the source. Does this engage anyone? I nodded toward the roses scattered on the ground. Who would do this? Who sent the flowers? Enough, Claire whispered urgently, tugging at my arm. What if it's someone we can't what? I shot back, frustration bubbling. Someone we can't confront? Or worse, someone we can't trust? Just then, a young girl appeared at the edge of the crowd, barely 10 years old. Her face was streaked with tears, and she clutched something small in her hands. As she stepped closer, the crowd parted for her. My heart sank. Why was she here? Mommy, she whimpered, looking desperately for someone who wasn't there. Mommy's hurt. I need her. The scream that followed obliterated whatever tenuous control the scene had left. I glanced at Claire, horrified, and on the periphery, I noticed Mira's expression twist dangerously. The game was shifting. Protect her. I shouted, instincts firing. Someone get her out of here. But as I moved to shield the girl from the chaos, the price of revelation dragged me further into the heart of the storm. Where was this confrontation leading? An answer, yes, but at what cost? A silence swept over the crowd, the kind that smothered like fog. And then, like a match igniting kindling, everything erupted again, chaos swallowing the reason once more. What had I just unlocked, and would I be able to walk away from it? The crowd surged toward the origin of the panic, but I stood frozen, realizing I was merely a pawn in this intricate game. And the pieces were shifting all around me. What corner were we being driven into next? Would the truth finally surface, or would I drown in the family secrets that refused to let go? My heart raced as I took in the chaos around me. Aunt Myra's smile twisted into something more, a predator relishing her prey. The crowd surged, pushed by unseen hands, urgency igniting fear. Claire pulled me back, trying to shield me from the suffocating collective dread. Get her out. I shouted again, desperate, but it felt like I was shouting into a void. The girl was lost, her tiny frame trembling, eyes darting, searching for a parent in the throng of chaos. I intensified my focus on her, leaning into my instincts. Mira took a step closer. It's better if we all just remain calm, she said, her voice syrupy with false comfort. We don't want to make things worse. Worse? I shot back, my voice filled with rising emotion. How could it possibly get worse than this? But she merely arched an eyebrow, a knowing smile curling her lips. She knew something. Something that could shatter the fragile facades we all clung to, like a dull knife against worn skin. People around me murmured, scattered whispers carried across the tension, igniting uncertainty. The mention of the roses swirled through the crowd like some foul wind. Messages, I remembered Mira had said. What did those roses truly mean? Look closer, she urged, tilting her head as if challenging me to dig deeper into her riddles. Maybe we should see what's inside that girl's hands, a voice shouted from near the front of the crowd, drawing attention back to the little girl. They were pointing now, their curiosity sharpening like a blade. I approached the girl, my heart pounding in my throat, trying to remember that her cries were the most urgent. What do you have there? I gently asked, kneeling down. She opened her palms slowly. Within her tiny fingers lay a rose bright red, slick with something that glistened under the fading daylight. Blood? My stomach lurched at the thought. Where did you find this? I pressed, hoping my tone was soothing enough. Auntie had it with her before she trailed off, biting her lip as fear etched deeper lines on her innocent face. Before she fell. Fell? Panic surged through me. What happened to your mother? Tears streamed down her cheeks. She got hurt. The flowers, they were for her. Then the shock hit me like a wave, dragging me under. My own mother? The realization brought silence crashing down around us. Could Aunt Mira have been involved? Was she orchestrating something larger than I could comprehend? What do you mean, the flowers were for her? I pressed, urgency clawing at my senses. What was in this for Auntie? But before the girl could respond, a scream sliced through the air. A woman collapsed toward the back, a familiar figure. My heart stopped, a lump forming in my throat. Sarah! Claire gasped, her eyes wide. People began shouting, and I scanned for the girl's mother, dread settling into my chest. This was connected, all of it was connected. We have to go. Claire yelled, grabbing my arm and pulling me backward as more people surged to help. Wait! The girl, but her body was already enveloped by worried adults, their concerns shifting from the chaos of roses to the urgency of a fallen loved one. As I turned back to Mira, she had vanished. My eyes darted wildly, searching for the cool detachment she wore, but she seemed to meld with the shadows, escaping questions and our mounting fear. Get her out of here. I insisted to Claire, finally feeling the cold grasp of adrenaline clutch at my spine. I'll gather information. If she knows more, we need to uncover whatever sick motive lies behind this. As Claire nodded, the whispering crowd swirled around me, each face a flicker of confusion and fear. What had Aunt Mira united in this twisted event? My mind raced with possibilities, the weight of family secrets suffocating me. Suddenly, I spotted a flash of red among the chaos. A rose had been crushed underfoot, petals scattered like blood, hinting at something dreadful lurking beneath our surface. And the urge to chase after the truth ignited inside me, but as I took a step forward, determination ignited within me, a sudden realization struck. What if uncovering this truth shattered everything I knew? Could I bear the weight of that revelation when it came crashing through the door, ready to expose the deepest scars of loyalty and betrayal? The air was thick with uncertainty, and the question hung heavy in my mind. Was I prepared for the burden I was about to unearth? Or was this a path that would lead to my own destruction? Claire tugged at my arm, her grip tight with fear. We need to get out of here, now. Her voice pressed against my ear like a siren in the storm. But my gaze was still locked on the crushed petals scattered across the pavement. Their vibrant red was darkened by a mix of fear and foreboding. Just a second. I pulled away from Claire's grip, feeling adrenaline spike once more. I bent to collect one of the petals, its softness staining my fingers. What kind of message was this, stemming from the darkness of the roses? Every fiber of me screamed to keep going forward, no matter where it led. As the crowd's panic grew, a new sound erupted, a frantic shouting from somewhere deep within the throng. Get back! A figure rushed past me, shoving people aside, eyes wild. I caught a glimpse of a man, his face twisted in terror. He didn't know what I knew, what the girl had said. Did you see? He gasped, skin pale under the streetlights. Did you see what was in those roses? My heart sank. What about them? I pressed, hoping he could shed light on these cryptic connections. His expression was raw, a mixture of horror and recognition. They sparkle. Like glass. And I swear, he stumbled, his breath hitching. They're not just flowers. They're marked. Before he could explain, he was swallowed by the crowd, dragged away and lost to the sea of confusion. I felt the tension coil tighter in my chest. This was not normal. None of it was. Listen. Claire's voice broke through, pulling me back from the edge of commitment to my pursuit. Whatever's going on, it's too dangerous. We can't stick around. Not with the girl's mother. Her words lingered, heavy with unspoken fears and the urgency of the moment. My eyes searched the crowd, a chaotic blur of worry and shock. I have to find out. I can't walk away. I felt raw rage clawing back, igniting a fire of determination. There had to be a connection, a truth that everyone else seemed blind to. Aunt Mira, the fallen woman, and those roses. What twisted game had been set in motion here? The screams intensified and, through the fray, I caught a glimpse of a flash of color that made my skin crawl. Another crushed rose, this one partially smeared with something dark and unrecognizable. It was almost as if whoever or whatever was behind this was leaving behind a trail, breadcrumbs leading into the heart of chaos. Please, just 5 minutes. I snapped at Claire, much sharper than intended. I could feel the tension in her shoulders, the urge to flee clashing with her loyalty. I have to know. What if Aunt Mira is in the thick of this? Her expression softened, eyes searching mine, torn between fear for my safety and commitment to face the unknown alongside me. Don't do it alone, she said finally, a tremor of resolve fueling her words. Just then, the crowd parted, and my breath caught. There, standing defiantly in front of a flickering streetlight, was Aunt Mira. Mysteriously calm amidst the chaos, a small, satisfied smile crossed her lips. The woman seemed untouchable, a queen surveying her court of confusion. A wave of rage pulsed through me. You! I shouted, pushing my way towards her. What do you know? What's this about? But before I could reach her, she turned, her dark silhouette merging with the shadows once more. The moment was fleeting, as though she was nothing more than a ghost evading capture. The crowd continued to shift around me, but I felt unmoving, locked in place. Had she expected this? Did she see it unfolding all along? What was happening to my family, to my life, surrounded by the roses that promised beauty and delivered blood? Don't lose her, Claire urged, breaking the spell of my paralysis. Together we pushed forward, the desperation palpable in our movements. But would we make it in time? What had she already sacrificed to preserve her secrets? Each step felt like a leap into uncertainty as I chased after her retreating figure into the darkening alley beyond. And somewhere within the depths of that darkness, I could hear whispers, shadows longing to reveal truths I might not be ready to face. Would those buried secrets consume what little we had left? Would the chase lead to enlightenment or utter devastation? The thought uncoiled in my mind like a snake. What if the truth we sought was far worse than the chaos in this moment? The alley swallowed us whole, the noise of the crowd fading into a muffled roar behind. Claire's hand tightened around mine, pulling me toward Aunt Mira's last known direction. Shadows flitted across the cracked walls, bending to an unseen force that made my pulse quicken. Was it fear or anticipation that propelled me forward? I can't believe she's just gone, I panted, glancing over my shoulder, half expecting Aunt Mira to appear behind us, to laugh off my worry. She must know something. Or she's part of whatever's happening. Claire's voice trembled, her eyes darting around the dark corners of the alley like a startled deer. With each step deeper into the darkness, I felt the weight of those rose petals curling in my palm, a reminder of the escalating danger hidden in their beauty. Something monumental was taking place, something linked tightly to our family. My stomach churned at the possibilities, each one more dreadful than the last. Ahead, a flicker caught my attention, a distant light blinking insistently like a beacon lost in an ocean of gloom. I moved closer, allowing the glow to illuminate the damp, cracked pavement, and suddenly, I stopped dead in my tracks. Look! I pointed, my heart hammering against my ribs. On the far wall, dripping like a tragic waterfall, was streaks of red that shimmered eerily, reflecting the light. They formed a grotesque shape, a torso, arms, and legs blurring, indistinguishable from the runaway chaos of rose petals scattered across the ground like a sinister premature confetti. Claire gasped behind me. What is that? I don't know, I whispered, moving forward, drawn by an intangible force. The closer I got, the more distorted the image became, the red bleeding together in a grotesque swirl that spoke of violence and sorrow. As I knelt beside it, the unmistakable scent of roses mixed with something metallic flooded my senses. My throat tightened. What if it's... I couldn't say the words, couldn't give voice to the terror clawing at the back of my mind. Stop. Claire pulled me back, her eyes wide. Let us go back. We shouldn't be here. But I couldn't move. In the stillness, I heard the whispering again, weaving through the air, coiling around us like the petals strewn behind. They thought they could hide the truth. The voice was quiet, almost echoing from behind the wall, laced with cunning laughter. Did you hear that? Claire whispered, fear dripping off each word. I nodded, goosebumps racing down my arms. Before I could respond, the darkness shifted. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall, lean, wrapped in layers of night. Aunt Mira stepped forward, but this time, her face bore an expression I had never seen before, one that made my skin crawl. "There you are," she said, her tone smooth, almost too practiced. "You shouldn't have come here. You wouldn't understand." "Understand what? What is happening?" I shot back, anger washing over me. "This whole thing, the roses, the chaos, what's behind it?" Her smile deepened, revealing just a hint of malice. "It's not about what happens outside. It's the power within." She gestured to the crimson smear on the wall. "These walls remember. They consume. They keep." I could feel Claire's grip slipping as my heart raced. "You're scaring us." "Good," Aunt Mira's gaze locked onto mine, heavy with secrets and veiled threats. "Fear is a potent teacher." The shadows around her leaned in, whispering sweet nothings, enticing me to listen, to lean closer. But I couldn't. I wouldn't join her. "You're not making any sense," I spat, stepping back. The moment stretched, taut like a wire, vibrating with tension. I felt it, something dark hovering right at the edges of understanding, a truth threatening to unravel everything. She chuckled softly, almost amused. "Then perhaps you should leave before it's too late." The flickering light extinguished, plunging us into pitch darkness. Claire and I exchanged frantic glances, lost in the void, the whispers now growing louder, forming a chilling crescendo. "What are we walking into?" And as if in reply, a distant gasp echoed through the night, cutting through the confusion like a knife. "Run!" Claire yelled, tugging at my arm, but something pushed us back, the allure of the truth just out of reach, pulling me deeper into the chaos that awaited. What lay ahead was a mystery wrapped tightly in secrets, and with our path increasingly obscured, I could only ask myself, what price would we pay to uncover the darkness hidden among those roses? The darkness felt thick, like a heavy blanket trying to smother us. Claire's grip on my wrist was the only connection I had to reality as I felt her fear radiate through our intertwined hands. We stumbled backward, disoriented, desperately seeking an escape from the oppressive shadows and Aunt Mira's chilling visage. "Where do we go?" Claire gasped, her frantic eyes darting around as if searching for a door that would lead us out of this nightmare that I could barely breathe, each inhale laced with the sweet scent of roses that tasted wrong. "We can't just stand here," I murmured. "We have to find a way out, or find out what she knows." The echoes of whispered laughter floated around us again, wrapping around our minds, tempting us to uncover the dark charm that lured Aunt Mira deeper into the shadows. As I blinked, trying to adjust my eyes to the void, a low rumble resonated within the walls, and the temperature seemed to drop. Maybe if we just call out." I hesitated. What if it only drew her closer? "No, don't," Claire whispered sharply. We can't risk it." But even as she said it, a voice broke through the silence like ice shattering. "Help me, please, help me." The plea was faint, yet so full of desperation it pulled me toward the far end of the alley. "What was that?" I asked, the instincts of my heart overpowering the trepidation. "It wasn't her, was it?" Claire pressed the back of her hand against her mouth, panic lingering on the edges of her wide eyes. Ignoring her, I followed the sound, heart hammering in my chest, each beat a compulsion to press on. We moved like shadows ourselves, sneaking past abandoned crates and damp walls, the brightness of the city's lights a distant memory. As we rounded a corner, the source of the voice became clear. A figure lay crumpled against the wall, face hidden in tangled hair. "Help!" came the chant again, choked with fear. "Stay back," Claire urged, her eyes darting to the corners as if expecting something to leap out. I couldn't help myself. I approached slowly, trying to see the face behind the wild mane. As I got closer, recognition seized me like a vice. My breath hitched. "Danny?" I whispered. "Is that you?" He turned, revealing wide frightened eyes that glistened with tears. "I'm so glad you're here," he gasped, voice trembling. I didn't know before he could finish. His eyes flicked past me, focusing on Claire. You shouldn't have come. She's not herself. You've got to go. What happened? Where's Aunt Mira? I demanded, the urgency building in my chest. She's part of it now. Danny stammered, glancing around nervously as though the shadows themselves were listening. She's wrapped up in whatever this is. The roses, they feed off of fear, they bring her power. The weight of his words sank deep, twisting like a knife in my gut. Power? Claire scoffed, fear turning to defiance. What power can she really have? Before Danny could explain, a rustle cut through the chilling air. We froze, holding our breath. Shadows seemed to stretch and shift, coiling like serpents ready to strike. What emerged was not Aunt Mira but something more terrifying, a dark figure cloaked in roiling shadows, eyes glinting with sickening delight. You found your little brother, but the truth is a slippery thing. My heart raced as I felt the cold grip of dread tighten around my throat. The figure stepped closer, breathing heavily, each exhale a promise of chaos. What do you want? I shouted, trying to sound brave amidst my horror, but my voice shook. What do I want? The figure echoed, lips curling with glee. Oh, my dear, it's what you will become that interests me. You have only ever glimpsed the truth. Now, you will suddenly. The light flickered back into existence, illuminating everything around us, the rose petals still scattered but now revealing a tapestry of terror woven among them. Run! I screamed, grabbing both Danny and Claire as we stumbled backward into the depths of the alleyway. As the darkness lunged toward us, I knew we had to escape, but the press of the shadows at our backs felt relentless. How could we possibly outrun what lay at the heart of our family's legacy? Would we find safety, or were we racing toward the very depths of darkness Aunt Mira had invited us into? What would we discover if we found the courage to face it? The shadows chased us, a ravenous beast with countless claws scraping the ground, urging us to surrender. I could feel Claire flanking me on one side and Danny on the other, our collective fear tightening like a noose. Each step felt weighted, as if the darkness around us tried to pull us back into its depths. Don't look back. I shouted, forcing my feet to move faster, adrenaline coursing through my veins. We darted through the narrow alleyways, weaving past debris that seemed to reach out like gnarled fingers. Every breath was a struggle against the overwhelming scent of roses, so twisted and wrong, intoxicating yet sickening, a reminder of what awaited us if we faltered. As we pushed onward, Danny gasped for air, his face pale under the flickering light. It's not just Aunt Mira, he panted, his voice urgent and strained. There are others, in the shadows with her. They feed off the chaos and fear. They want to let you go. What do you mean others? Claire shouted over her shoulder. Danny, focus. We need a plan. I don't know. His desperation was a raw plea, his eyes darting, searching for an escape that didn't feel real. I just know they'll do anything to keep us here with them. A sickening chill washed over me as the reality of our situation sank in. It wasn't just Aunt Mira who had succumbed to whatever darkness had crept into our lives. There were more like her. I felt nausea creeping into my stomach, twisting and turning, as fear clawed at my insides. That we rounded another corner, desperation guiding our steps. But as we did, the alley narrowed, the walls seemed to close in, tainted vines creeping up them, pulsing with a life of their own. Find a door. I yelled, panic igniting my every thought. We need to get inside. There. Claire pointed to a wooden door at the far end, its paint chipped and peeling, yet a glimmer of hope hung in the air as we sprinted toward it. Just as we reached out, the door swung open violently, revealing a tall silhouette. A woman stepped out, her eyes as dark as the abyss. You shouldn't have come, she hissed, her voice smooth yet cold, like ice scraping against metal. Claire shrieked, and I instinctively pushed her behind me, feeling the need to shield her from whatever horror loomed before us. Who are you? I demanded, though my voice barely hid the tremor inside. I am one of the keepers of this place, she said, a twisted smile forming on her lips. And you have entered a realm that doesn't take kindly to intruders. Your dear Aunt Mira is merely the beginning of what lies here. Let us go. Claire cried, stepping forward, defiance radiating from her. But the woman only laughed, a chilling sound that echoed down the alley, binding us further to the darkness. With eyes sharper than knives, she leaned closer. Let you go? That is not for you to decide. At that moment, Danny broke free from my grasp, pushing past me in a sudden surge of bravery. We know about the roses. He shouted, a wild light sparking in his eyes. We know what she's become. The woman's expression flickered with surprise, her confident demeanor cracking for just a moment. You know too much, little boy. And then, out of the shadows, a figure emerged behind her Aunt Mira, her form twisted and ethereal, an unnatural grin stretched across her face. You should have stayed away. This is our family's legacy, and now, you will be part of it. My heart dropped. She was no longer the woman I knew. This was something darker, a monstrous echo of the family ties that once bonded us. Panic surged within me. We can't stay here. I shouted, turning towards Danny and Claire. We have to get out, now. But as we spun to run, the walls of the alley distorted, shifting like a living entity, blocking our escape. I could hear the laughter return, taunting us, echoing off the bricks, seeping into my bones. What awaited us in the heart of the darkness? Would we be trapped forever in a twisted family reunion, or did we still have a chance to reclaim our lives from the clutches of the shadows? The air thickened as Aunt Mira's voice flowed through the alleyway like a haunting melody. You cannot escape your fate. And I knew, with a chilling certainty blooming in my chest, that the next step we took might seal our destiny forever. Aunt Mira stepped forward, the shadows swirling around her like a storm. The flickering lights cast eerie silhouettes, revealing the horror behind her once familiar face. You think you can just run away from what you are? She crooned, her voice an intoxicating whisper. It sent chills down my spine, but I couldn't let the fear incapacitate me. Danny, Claire, and I exchanged anxious glances, a fear-infused determination igniting within us. We had to escape. We want to be part of this twisted legacy, I shouted, my voice stronger than I felt. The walls constricted us tighter, their surface pulsing, as if alive, as if the very fabric of this place was a trap woven from our family's darkest secrets. Legacy? Danny cried out, his voice cracking under pressure. You're not our family, this is a curse. Aunt Mira's expression hardened, the amusement fading from her eyes. Family is about loyalty, about sacrifice. You have much to learn, she hissed. With a flick of her wrist, the shadows expanded like riverbanks overflowing, pushing us back. Suddenly, a dark mist enveloped the entrance, sealing our fate. Run! Pushing past her. I shouted, squeezing Danny's hand tight, trying to pull him toward a side street. But in a blink, Aunt Mira's form shifted, disappearing into swirling darkness. The air was thick with an unfamiliar energy, crackling and snapping, a prelude to chaos. The flashlight flickered, sent signals dancing in my vision. Get to the light! Claire yelled, her urgency palpable. She hesitated just long enough for our hearts to catch in our throats. We pushed through, darting toward the only incandescent glow left, hoping it led to salvation. That I could hear the shadows shriek, an agonizing wail that gnawed at my sanity. With hearts racing, we sprinted, each step an echo of our resolve, our voices drowning in the cacophony of what remained. Did you hear that? Danny whispered, dread creeping over him like a cold sweat. Behind us, the shadows morphed into recognizable faces, friends, relatives, all tainted by despair, urging us back to the safety of the darkness that once protected them. The light grew, transforming from a flickering point into a halo, pure and radiant. The moment we reached it, the darkness recoiled, shrieking in agony. Not here. Aunt Myra's voice echoed, her fury palpable, thick with malice. Just beyond, we saw the open door, our chance. We burst through it, hearts pounding against our ribs, lungs aching for fresh air. We were not free yet, that much was clear. The light led us into a park, under a bright moon that bathed everything in silver, Stark against the black of the alley we fled, breathless. We turned back, expecting a chase, but the darkness hesitated at the entrance, mere shadows behind us. It felt like a heavy lid on a boiling pot, simmering and threatening to explode. At that moment, we understood. In our family, darkness doesn't just hide. It waits to consume. In that chilling silence, we shared a glance of recognition. Whatever ties bound us to Aunt Mira, to those roses, were no longer our story. There's still a way to end this, I gasped, heart racing. We need to confront her again. We need the truth. They won't let you, Danny warned, the tremor back in his voice. As long as they fear what comes next, they'll fight to keep you bound. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was war, a battle against the lies that tethered us to that darkness. But we have to try. We can't let her control our lives. Not anymore. As the wind chilled around us, we made our decision. We'd return, not as pawns in Aunt Mira's game, but as warriors ready to dismantle the family legacy she held over us. Fear may fuel the shadows, but we would shine light into every dark corner, exposing the truth. Let us go back and face her, I said, more sure now than ever. We owe it to ourselves and everyone else trapped in her nightmare. And just like that, we began our march back toward that sinister alley, courage igniting within us as we prepared to confront the very heart of our family's darkness. Aunt Mira would not escape this time. Now, as you've traveled with us through this gripping journey, remember, your support means everything. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that await you. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and keep this light shining. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this shocking conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this intense finale. Let us keep the conversation going and grow this community together.